Yeah, so Nicola is really, we're a very unique company. We're based in BC. There's a lot of things, I'll just skip forward to here. So, you can hear me this way. I'll stand right here. So, we won't be able to hear you. Okay, sure. They'll just make it live. Okay, yeah, so the company, first of all, there's four key characteristics. So one is that we're cash flow positive. So we have very strong cash flow from our operations. So we don't need to go out and raise money for expansion for for increased production. So that's something that we've worked very hard at as a company. It's part of our, I guess the management philosophy is cash is king, and the whole concept of raising money, drilling, raising money, drilling, raising money, drilling. It's great during good markets, but we wanted to make ourselves independent of having to raise capital. The second thing is we have a high-grade copper project. So the Craigmont copper project is the highest grade copper, major copper mine in the history of North America. And we own 100% of that, and we're doing exploration on that project. I'll talk about it more, but it's very exciting. We also produce gold and silver concentrate. So we just actually finished up production for this year last week, and we'll commence production we'll commence production in Q1 next year. The difference going forward is that once we start up next year, the mill is going to just continue to keep running. And we also have a fully permitted silver mine. So if you look back in 2012, this company had a market cap of $230 million based on the silver asset in the mill. And then in the meantime, we were able to secure 100% ownership of the copper. So there are 5 key assets that we have. And the most important characteristic of these key assets is that they are synergistic. So all of them, there's a lot of small companies or junior mining companies that have an asset in Chile, then one in Quebec. And so they're not synergistic jurisdictionally. So we made a point to make sure that all our assets are in the same jurisdiction and that they can benefit one another. So again, we have the high-grade copper assets. So the Craigmont copper mine, which we now own 100%, and we will be coming out with our drill results from this year. We're very excited about that. We secured 100% of that ownership in 2015. The Merritt Mill facility that we have is, and I'll spend the next few slides on that, but it was completed in 2012. We've continued to do upgrades on this. So about 2 months ago, we were able to fully automate the entire production process. So we can actually run the mill with 4 employees at one time. We also have the Treasure Mountain Silver Mine, which is a high-grade silver mine off the Coquihalla Highway. It's 90 minutes from the mill. We have, and this was something that we did, we also have a fully permitted sand, a gravel pit, a fully permitted rock quarry, and we have recently completed the construction of a cement plant. And this is one of those things that cash is king. And so when there was a period when the mill wasn't operating, we thought, okay, how can we continue to create cash flow? So one of the things we worked with the First Nations. So this is in a partnership with the First Nations. So we developed this, and it's been operating for just over a year now. And the Dominion Gold Project, and this is something that the benefit of having cash flow allows you to do. So we acquired 75% of this project. We will be announcing today, Canada time, that we received, we just paid the reclamation bond to bring this in production next year. So it's not a huge project. We've applied for a bulk sample permit, but the grades are at surface are just over 1 ounce a ton, and we will start put that into production in Q3 of 2025. So if you look at this map, obviously the location is important. So we're in a politically stable environment. We've got infrastructure. You could actually roller skate right to our mine site. Highway 8 was actually constructed for the historic mine. But if you look at that map, I think what's a key takeaway here is that every copper mine in British Columbia that's not on Vancouver Island is on 2 different tranches, troughs. One is If you look at north-south, that's called the Quesnel Trough. And then if you look at the bottom there, you can see east-west, and that's called the Spentius Bridge Trough. And we are the corner of those two troughs. They meet on our site. So this is the mill. So one thing that's important about the mill is that we are the only mill permitted in British Columbia to take material from anywhere in the province. So what we did is we challenged the Ministry of Mining. It took us 3 years, just over 3 years, to get the wording in the permit that we want. But the wording in our permit says Nicola Mining has a right to accept and process mill feed from anywhere in the province of British Columbia, subject to notifying the Ministry of Mining 10 days ahead. So that wording is very powerful. We don't need to do consultation. We don't need to do any form of approval. We can just take it, receive it, mill it, and produce concentrate. The other thing that is unique about our site is that we own it freehold. So we acquired the land for $9 million, and we created Canada's first mining industrial site. So we're actually classified not as a mine site, we're classified as an industrial site, which is why we were able to build a cement plant on our factory, on our site, sorry. We were the partner for Trans Mountain Pipeline's expansion. We will be a partner for Enbridge when they do their expansion, because that's part of our soil remediation business. But if you look at the location, and this is also very strategic, so if you look at those large red dots, each one of those red dots symbolizes a project of greater than 5 million tons gold. What do they have in common? They've all either produced, are producing, have submitted a feasibility study, and so they're all established. But if you look at the little white dots, for us that's very important, because each one of those little white dots represents a project of less than 1 million tons, but greater than 7 grams per ton resource. What they have in common is none of them have a mine permit, and none of them will have a mill permit, but it's going to be very difficult to get a mill permit, because getting the permitting in British Columbia is not easy. So you have to go through, and you heard Osisko talk about it, but you have to go through a feasibility study, economic impact study, consult, and you're talking years and years of applications, and most junior mining companies don't have those resources. So we kind of like to conceptualize this as those little dots represent airplanes, and we're the airport, and they're going to come to us to land. And we're in the process now so we have support from the First Nations to actually to triple the production of our mill. And if you look inside, you can see that the building itself, the structure is very large. So it was built to be expanded up to 1,000 tons a day. Right now, our flotation capacity is 750 tons. Our external crushing capacity is 600 tons. But the bottleneck is the ball mill. It will cost us just under $1 million to swap the ball mill, because the ball mill was actually constructed so that it could be changed out. And so that's something that we hope to do when we have a requirement based on our production. So we do have partners. So right now, I mentioned that we plan on going into production, or recommencing production again in Q1 next year. We're in discussions right now with 8 groups. Those include, so we have partnerships with Blue Lagoon, Osisko, and Talisker. We are now also, because of our cash flow, so we not only invested into Dominion, but we also are, along with Crescat Capital, are the largest shareholders of Blue Lagoon. So Blue Lagoon last year we invested $1 million into Blue Lagoon, and their permit is contingent on their shipping the material to us. And if you looked at the news, if you follow Blue Lagoon, they just recently also received their conditional mine permit. We have a very strong partner with Ocean Partners, who sell the concentrate for us offshore. The really exciting part about this company, though, is the copper asset. And the copper asset, so this is the New Craigmont. So if you look at the location, you can see where New Craigmont is, and we're adjacent to Highland Valley. So New Craigmont is the highest grade copper mine in the history of North America, and we're adjacent to Highland Valley, which is the largest copper mine in the history of Canada, and it's the 3rd largest copper mine in North America. Highland Valley was discovered because of drill success at the Craigmont site. We just go here. So we had a very interesting, I guess, chronology of events here. So if you look at the mine operated from 1961 to 82. But if you look at the bottom right, you can see on November 19th, 2015, we then acquired 100% of the ownership of the Craigmont. So up until November 19th, 2015, there were 8 owners. Nicola Mining was one of those 8 owners, but there were 7 other owners. And there's, you know, I often, when I think about finance, I actually wrote a book on finance in Japanese, and in the book I talk about the best companies are run by democratic dictatorships. And when you have 7 people running a company, it just doesn't work. That's why governments are inefficient. You need to have a democracy on the board, but you need to have 1 or 2 decision makers. And they could not decide on anything what to do with the project until we took over. 1 month later, after we took over the asset, the VP of Exploration for Teck Resources called me and said, well, this is one of the best said this is one of the top 5 projects in the world for copper. And I asked him, well, is it that big? Is it like Escondida? Is this like Peru? And he said, no, 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 no. But what we know is that it's very, very high grade, and you have your mine permits. And so that's a big difference, because you can have great drill results, you can have great exploration, but you may actually never get your mine permit. But this is already a permitted mine. So if you look at a DCF and you look at here's what the grades, here's what the mining costs will be, this is something that you could actually accurately put into a model. So I'll just skip to this. So historically, the exploration focused on the mine, only focused on the relationship between magnetite and copper. When we took over, so in 2022, we received what's called a MIAB, which is a 5-year exploration permit. And at that time, so when we received it, but prior to that, from 2019, so we applied for the MIAB, which takes 2 years to get. But during that period, obviously the world had COVID, and so it took longer to get those permits. But in the meantime, what we did a ZTEM survey, a geotechnical survey, which included electromag, IP survey, mapping. We did this with a Japanese partner as well. And so we basically, over 3 years, planned towards the follow-on future drill programs. And that's where we are right now. Interestingly, if you look at the very first drill hole that we ever did, if you look at TH002, that is the very first drill hole that Nicola Mining did as a company into the project, and you can see it was 85 meters of 1.1%. The very last drill hole that we did was in 2019, and that was 76 meters of 1.5%, but we've had intercepts of 100 meters of over 1% as well. And then we stopped the drilling in order to do all the geotechnical work. And when you apply for the MIAB, you're not able to drill in the meantime. And that's the program that we did this year, which we're really excited about the results. They'll be coming out in the next 4 weeks. We've completed the program. And we've significantly, I guess, increased not only the size, but the grades and the understanding of the whole project. This is, the next 2 slides are very important. So if you look here, you can see on the right, on the right side, this trend of how mineralization kind of goes in these blobs. And you can see these faults. And you can see where the Craigmont is, then you see the embayment, and you see the marb. So this year we focused on the marb, the CAS, and in between the embayment and the marb, and the WP. Those were the zones that we really focused on. And this is a key slide here, because if you look at it, you can look at the Craigmont, where you can see outcropping, drill results, anomaly, success. That was a mine. You can see the embayment, where you see outcropping, drill, anomaly, success. And now if you look at the bottom one, the marb and the CAS, the last drill holes, there were only 3 drill holes ever drilled in the area, and they were drilled in 1961. And this is the area where we drilled this year, and it's very large. The total length across would be 7 kilometers by 5 kilometers in width. So we're very excited about the results of this. Just going to finish up here just because of time. And then we also have Treasure Mountain. And Treasure Mountain is something, it's a high-grade silver mine. We put it into care and maintenance because in 2013, silver was $14.68 an ounce. Canadian dollar was $1.05 to the U.S. And now, now that silver is comfortably above $25, this is something that we'll look into next year of putting it back into production and also doing exploration. And really the exciting part of this is the backside of the mountain. If you're interested, we're out of time here, but we've already applied for our MIAB. We extended the mine permit for 10 years, and this is something that we're also going to use our cash flow to do next year. So in summary, we're a company that has cash flow. We've got a very, very high-grade gold project, copper project. We produce gold, silver. We have a high-grade gold project, and we're going to continue to expand and use our capital to consolidate and do a regional gold play in the province. Thanks.